Mongoose Magic Moments, the Tsebokolodi Yellow Mongoose group. Hello again, conservation friends. Filming here at the Tsebokolodi Yellow Mongoose group, the Meerkat Magic Valley Reserve of the Meerkat Magic Conservation Project. It's about half an hour before sunset, and it looks as if Giabonga, one of the littermates from November 2018, might be pregnant. I just saw one of her babies from this year emerge briefly again. So she's just finished weaning those babies off her milk, and it looks like there's another litter on the way, which is wonderful news. This is the dominant female here, from which the group gets its name, Tsebokolodi. And of course, this is Mongoose Magic Moments. Here's the baby now coming up. Still very, very cautious. It's a slow process to gain the trust of the newest individuals within the group. I have been following this particular group of mongooses and their generations since 2008. The reserve river has started to flow very slowly, but after many months of drought and not a drop in the river, it's wonderful to see it again, and that's because the mountain range to the north, the Great Black Mountain Range, had snow on it a few weeks ago, and there's still a little bit of snow right at the very top. But most of it has started to melt, and today's like a summer's day. It's probably up at 20 degrees centigrade, maybe about 27, I reckon, right now. And yesterday was also lovely and warm after very cold temperatures going below freezing. It's a huge variation in temperature. All right, there we've got 3 individuals up right now. I have not yet named the youngest arrivals within the group. There were 2. I'm only seeing 1 right now. Here's the second one coming up now. Oh, that is fantastic. I've not seen the second one for over a week. I started thinking the worst had happened. There's a bit of non-reciprocal allo-grooming. The mother, Giabonga, is grooming the one. In fact, she made a call which brought that one up. I'm not going to make the sound now. I don't imitate the mongooses or meerkats that I work with, although I can imitate a number of their calls. It would disturb them if I was with them. I don't want them to think I'm anything except a trusted object that's just here and never threatens them. It's quite difficult to see them underneath this thorn tree right now. All right, there's a bit of aggression going on there, maybe a bit of proximity aggression between the 2 babies. I still classify them as babies, even though they're a few months old now. They're not yet fully independent. They're still begging for food. But interestingly enough, I have seen Giabonga, who's up ahead right now, whose babies these are, still begging from Tsebokolodi, the dominant female. And that is over 2 years after she has arrived within this group. So it's quite incredible. There's a massive amount of care towards the babies, which I did not realize was so extensive within the yellow mongooses that I'm studying. I also have studied yellow mongooses along the coastline near Heidelberg and Witsand, and of course in the Kalahari Desert along with slender mongoose and then banded mongoose in Uganda. These are fascinating creatures because they're very, very shy and secretive most of the time, and many people do not understand them. And because of this lack of understanding in nature conservation, these animals tragically often get persecuted And many people just assume that one mongoose is the same as all the others. And if they see one in particular catching chickens or something like that, they assume all of them are doing that. And this is completely incorrect. So in order to understand what each mongoose is actually doing in their diet, it's important to get this information out of the scientific publications, which I've done a number of, and into the public where it can be used. And I like to call this conservation through education. That philosophy is one I subscribe to. You share the information so that people become aware of the incredible nature that we are all part of. This is our heritage, and it is everybody's responsibility on this planet and for those generations yet to arrive to take care of it. We are simply the guardians. All right, there's quite a bit of interaction going on there. I'm just being very careful with these two babies. I see the one looking at me past this tree. Just to give you a bit of an idea of time lapse, this tree wasn't even here when I started observing this group and their ancestors back in 2008. And now it's many meters high. This is an acacia karoo, or the sweet thorn. It is an indigenous thorn tree in this area, and it's called the sweet thorn, or soet doring in Afrikaans, because you can in fact eat the gum, the sap. It's very, very sweet, of course, hence the name. It also has incredibly big thorns, which are very, very nasty. If you stand on one of them, which I've done many times, unfortunately, they get hidden in the undergrowth, and they'll go right through thick, rubbish-soled shoes very easily. So it's a great defense for the mongooses as well, who have built their burrow system here, and then a tree has grown here, and this seems to be part of their favored number of entrances that they use in what I like to call this wildlife hotel, which has ant bear and porcupine visiting it. And of course, meerkats and other animals will also visit these burrow systems. But the reason I call these wildlife hotels is simply because many inhabitants can be at the same hotel at the same time, but they're not sharing the same room or sleeping chamber. I have in fact cordoned this area off because we do get the Katunguru herd of cattle coming through occasionally, and I do not want them to come along and trample this burrow. It doesn't stop any wild animals from moving around, but it's just a deterrent for the cattle, who now know over the years as well not to come and disturb this particular area. And I'm mentioning this as well for anybody out there who has burrow systems on their properties. Please do be aware of this. Many of the subterranean creatures that live in these burrow systems inherit these burrow systems, and we do not even know how old these burrows may be. They could be hundreds of years old and simply renovated over many, many generations, because they are inherited in many cases, as is the case with meerkats. And because of all the interesting behaviors at a burrow system, there are a vast number of different creatures that live in these burrow systems and make use of this commune. Various wasp species, spiders, birds, various parasites. But what's important here to note is the minerals that are brought up to the surface from deep beneath the ground often attract various animals. In the Kalahari, I have noticed an ancient burrow system being absolutely destroyed by a wandering herd of sheep, fat-tailed sheep. They found the burrow and they trampled it to get to the minerals, which is tragic because they wouldn't be there normally. All right, I just see who this is and what's going on now. I was a bit surprised to see that. Those were two cheek marks, very distinctive, and this is in fact now the dominant male. Sawubona. In Zulu, that means hello. It's a greeting. There he is again, scent marking. He's just arrived, and he's scent marking the different entrances. This is actually quite a rare behavior to capture on film like that, and I'm very lucky to see it. Very, very fortunate. Now, he was born in November 2018. His father disappeared, and that could have been through a predation, or he may have left this group, but it's unlikely that he just left, leaving the dominant male here now as the new breeding male. Interestingly, though, his mother, Tsebokolodi, is still here. Now, with meerkats, when a dominant female dies, usually her daughter, one of her daughters, will become the dominant female. Will not usually find a vacancy for long when that happens. And the males within the group will not breed with their sisters or their mother. So it gives an opening for potential mate from a different group to arrive. That's why wandering bands of males, coalition groups, move into the territory. Just a beautiful sequence there with the yawning, a bit of auto-grooming. Very cat-like. He's a magnificent male in his prime. I hope to see many generations sired by him. And I'm very much looking forward to the newest generation, it seems, on the way in the next month and a half. The gestation's pretty much the same as the meerkats, 10.5 to 11 weeks, give or take. It does depend quite significantly on food availability as well. And like the meerkats, rainfall quite commonly will trigger breeding cycles when food availability is higher. Absolutely fantastic right now to see all 5 individuals within the group. That's a very interesting behavior there. One I have not yet seen. That's a bit of a dominance assertion by the male to one of his babies. Now the hardy-dar ibis, those water birds that are making that sound in the background, have just caused a slight alarm, not to the adult, but to the younger one who reacted and set off everybody. And this is all part of the learning process. Meerkats also do this, and I call it a fire drill. It's very well documented now over the years that I've studied them since 1993. Babies will run to a burrow when adults make an alarm, and the adults will make this alarm again and again and again. And I do believe very strongly that this is to reinforce burrow locations with that sound. And then shortly after the sound is made, the adults will usually leave the area and the babies will be focused on that particular bolt hole or main burrow system as a safety sanctuary for them. Also, what quite commonly ensues after these alarms are made, lots of interesting waterbird sounds in the background there, some geese. There's a furious amount of digging that usually happens with meerkats at these bolt holes after alarms have been made. The 2 newest in the group watching closely over there as they become accustomed to my movements and sounds and associations. There are a number of codes that I use with different study groups, audio and visual codes that they learn to recognize. I have master codes and then basically safety net codes in case there's a disturbance when a sound or movement is made. I can override it with a positive association. For anybody who's followed my work, you will know that I refer to these as NLPs, neuro-linguistic programming techniques, and they can take many years to implement with different wild animals and are essential for ethical observer research, because otherwise animals do not treat observers as objects. They will interact with them or become tame, which is a disaster. I'm not going to go into this in further detail now. Discuss this in great detail on my YouTube channel for anyone interested to look there. Hundreds of videos on reserve life, and of course the meerkats, mongooses, and everything else that I study. Usually I do live streams at this time of the day. However, the reception is very poor at this particular area of the reserve. So we're just going to do a video and upload it later. You can also check the Facebook Mongoose Magic Moments of the Meerkat Magic Conservation Project. And of course, Meerkat Magic Moments of the Meerkat Magic Conservation Project. And the Instagram accounts, Twitter, YouTube. It's a beautiful, beautiful session right now. So peaceful. This is just a brief window into a typical day. Late afternoon now, just before sunset. In the distance, I can hear the Cape turtle dove calling. We might hear some more Haididar ibis. They're very characteristic water birds in this area because they are nesting in the reserve row to the south-southeast of where I'm currently seated. About 500 meters from here. You can also hear some Egyptian geese calling. A Haididar ibis is one of those birds that has an onomatopoeic name. So the sound it makes actually is why it has that name, Haididar, because it's ha, ha, ha. All right, there's a lot of grooming going on there. And I'm going to sign off now. Until next time, friends, stay safe. If you have any comments or questions, feel welcome to post them. And I will get back to you as soon as I can.